All right, so we're throwing them back right now, and I want to throw it back to the original X-Men. From 2000. This was
2000.
21 years ago. This
Holy
was
shit.
before Tony Stark and Iron Man graced our presence on the big screen and changed the landscape of the superhero film genre forever.
Forever.
And this was, for me, it was fun. It was thinking back as I was watching it, I just kept thinking about how I enjoyed it so much as a kid. And I did. I enjoyed it a lot now. And there were things that we'll go into that kind of disappointed me in ways that wasn't huge.
Ooh.
It wasn't like a game changer to the fact that it was such a fun film and it was such a good film. But what was your thoughts? Going through the first movie, watching it, taking it all in, and then you have the credits roll. And what are your initial thoughts, Marcus, on this film?
Dude, you know what? Before and for everybody, before we started the podcast, Ty and I kind of talked a little bit, just a little bit about it. And dude, I knew this was coming from you. I knew you were gonna say there was something about it. It didn't. I don't know. It didn't meet the mark. I see the smile on your face. Yeah, it didn't meet the mark. We're almost. It's okay, but anyways, we'll get into that. I know you're not there yet. We'll get into it. My first opinions, right? I fucking loved this movie, man. I really did. I loved it a whole bunch. When I first saw it when I was a kid, just because there was nothing, and I could say I was a kid. It was 21 years ago. So holy shit, that's a long time ago, man. Was that 11, 12 when it came out? Holy fuck. So that, just to think about that, is a complete mind fuck in the first place. But I saw it, and I think the thing that stood out to me the most when I finished it was how interested and how down I was for the whole thing. Like the entire time, dude. I haven't, and to be honest with everybody, I haven't watched this movie in maybe 10 plus years.
Same.
So it really hit differently now as an adult than it did back then, which tells me that it was probably a little bit ahead of its time in terms of storytelling. Maybe nobody quite understood. It was the first. Really, Ty, I guess we could say it was the first ensemble team movie that there ever was. Really well done and have a really good story behind it. I know they had, obviously Batman '89 and the Superman, and I think they did Spawn before that, and they did there was other movies out there, but this was the first ensemble film which was very well known. Our parents loved X-Men. My dad loved X-Men. They had all the comics. I would read them. We would watch the animated series when we were kids.
Best TV series right there.
Yeah, dude, it really was, wasn't it? And the theme and everything, just everything about it was amazing. And I remember being really pumped when I was going to see it as a kid. And I think as a kid, I don't want to say disappointed, but I don't think I quite was mature enough to understand everything that was going on in the movie. And so because of that, it wasn't my favorite ever when I was little.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire came out, that was my favorite. Because it was very colorful, very poppy, very happy, very, very much animated style. And this was a little more dark, to be honest. The themes in it was way darker. And kids can't really kind of understand that stuff yet. But that's kind of what took me the most. Was I understand some things now that I'm older that I didn't before when I was little. And because of that, I was able to understand a lot more where Bryan Singer was coming from. I was able to pick up on some of the themes that were there, like xenophobia and those kinds of stuff, like racism against people, racism against mutants. Picking up on that kind of stuff, it hit a little bit harder this time. And I actually really enjoyed it the second time around.
That was, one of my things that I noted was the fact that this story, the X-Men story itself and the way it was portrayed in this film, it works so well with today's day and age. And, the political side of it, the human side of it, the themes of racism and equality. And it, like you said, it hit hard. And, it works so well because, with X-Men, it's these mutants who don't have their equality. They don't have the ability to live in society that they want to because people are afraid of them. And, vice versa, they're afraid of normal people because they know that they're going to be outcast. So watching this, it really makes you understand, especially at our age now, it makes you understand, how powerful that film is and the story is. And I that's one thing that I really enjoyed, how it, it carries true to this day, and how, things need to change, and people need to make the right changes,
Yeah.
in our society nowadays.
Yeah, well, I guess I think no, and I absolutely agree. Like those kinds of things that they were popping up, and when I was watching them, it was like, when we first saw Jean Grey up, and then she was talking about like how, like, look, we shouldn't have to register all these mutants just because they have powers, because like they're it does predispose them to people being like, okay, well, this person has that power, so like we're just gonna assume they could fuck us up one day.
Yeah.
And now we know who you are, where you live, and that makes it even more scary for the mutant. But the mutant might not be a bad person. Mutant might be like a little kid, and they haven't even like gone on a path for their life yet.
Yeah.
So you have to try to get to them early. So I saw those like clashing themes. I actually understood both sides.
Yep.
I understand the side of the mutants, like you don't want to expose yourself because people already show you a lot of hate. um they don't want to accept who you are because you could potentially be dangerous, but you've never showed that before. But just because one day that you could, um it's like, well, why am I even going to show myself then? Why am I even going to expose myself? Like, I don't want to
Exactly.
sign this thing. I don't want to go tell people who I am. I want to just hide in the shadows. And then you think about the other side, the people who, like, you should do this because we are afraid of you, because you could fuck us up one day. You could go and turn bad and do all this stuff. um it was really interesting, and the movie started with that right off the
Yep.
bat.
Right off
Like,
the bat.
immediately it just presented this theme, this like huge heavy theme, of like, here is this, and this is what the movie is going to be about. And they wrote that the whole movie, and thought it was really awesome that they decided to go that heavy with it.
Yeah, and I really liked, one of the points that I really enjoyed from the film was when, Magneto, they kidnapped the senator, and
Yeah.
they gave him like I guess they peaked his mutant gene and caused him to become a mutant, and it really made him see things from the other side. And I think we need that more in our society today, is people need to see things from other people's perspectives, even
Yeah.
though this was done, in a awful way. Obviously, he
Hmm.
ended up dying and whatnot, but you know people need to start seeing things from the other person's perspective to really understand what they're going through, even on both sides. And it's the film is just so wholesome with that. And it shows how people need to understand how each side feels. And Dr. X does a great job with that. He understands that, and he wants people to know that. And obviously he doesn't want the mutants to have to expose themselves, but at the same time he knows that people aren't wrong for feeling afraid at points, because you can see how Magneto handled things in that film. By the way, those Dr. X and Magneto, I'm forgetting the actors' names. They held that film together by themselves, single handedly. Like, they were the best parts. Like, their interactions, their chemistry. Again, like, the yin and the yang for them was such a perfect theme and story throughout the whole film.
Yeah, man. Patrick Stewart played
Patrick
Professor
Stewart,
X,
yes.
and Ian McClellan played Magneto. Charles, no, I'm sorry, Eric. His name was Eric. But yeah, and it's also very. One of the things I loved about the movie is their relationship as well between each other. Even though clearly one had like a good path, Professor X had one path, and he had hope. He kind of represented hope for like everything going forward.
Yeah.
Seeing the good in people, even if they've taken a step back, you still are like trying to find hope and humanity, and all those kinds of things. And Magneto, on the other hand, it he he fully embraces who he is as a mutant, and he wants to use that to show people like, look, you are going to screw us one day, so I'm going to do everything I can to protect my
Yep.
people. And it's not entirely wrong. I understand where he's coming from. Like, he wants to protect his people,
Yes.
and he's not going and like robbing banks,
No.
or going and just murdering innocent people for no reason. It's always like, here's my agenda. You guys are gonna screw us one day. I'm just trying to protect my people and do that. So you know what I mean, Ty. I'm gonna bring this up now.
Okay.
Impromptu. Villain or just a dick? Magneto.
Okay.
Go.
So with Magneto, man, you see him off the bat as a child getting, torn away from his family, and you can see him using his powers at a young age. I don't know if it was accidentally or not, if he knew he had these powers or not, but you can tell right off the bat he's had a bad run-in with society, and he's already got, his life already coming down on him hard. So you kind of get an understanding of where he comes from and how people aren't on his side. And you see in the beginning, especially with Jean Grey trying to talk to, I forget where she was, I guess Congress or something, about how mutants shouldn't need to give themselves up. And you can tell that society still isn't on Magneto's side. Obviously not. So I don't feel like he's a dick, man. I feel like he's a very good villain, because at the end of the day, he's fighting for a cause. He's not just doing it to do it. He could be using his powers, like you said, to rob banks. He could be doing it to just like find old bullies and like take metal balls and fling them at people and kill them. He's doing it because he's passionate about something he believes in, and he's not going to let things stop him. Like the one scene that breaks out to me, which was probably my favorite scene in the whole film, is when he has Rogue and they're walking out and you have all the cops and he has all the guns pointed at all the officers.
Yeah,
he dropped he dropped all the cars on around them to like show he means business, and him and Professor X are just having this, 1-to-1, and he's just like, you need to do what you need to do, but just so you know, I need to do what I need to do, and if it's so be it, I kill these people, I will do it. Especially when he shot the gun and he didn't send the bullet. Like, that message in itself was so freaking powerful and shows how deeply this cause meant to him. And it was, dude, oh, I'm getting the chills just thinking about it, dude.
I'm so happy that you brought that up, man, because like, yeah, you're right. Like if he shot the bullet, he stopped it right in the temple of this guy's face, and you can see the bullet still spinning, and it's like, the pressure's going on and it's hurting the guy's like, because he feels like it's going to go in, but he purposely meant it to not go in.
Yeah.
Just to show like, look, I could kill all these people. I'm not gonna, but I'm saying if I have to do what I got to do to get my way, I'm going to do it and basically stay the hell out of my way, or else, this is what could happen. And, he is powerful, man. He is a super powerful being. But I feel like there's so much like depth to him too, because sometimes I feel like I can see him conflicting with what he's doing. He doesn't want to hurt people necessarily. He just wants his people to be safe. He wants mutants to be safe, just because. And you can see where it comes from. The very first scene of the movie, when it shows his origins, and his parents are literally getting ripped from his arms, and he never sees them again. And it just kind of shows how shitty he thinks like regular people are for doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, from an early age, he's like, look, these people aren't good enough. These people are. And like, we're going to separate them. And he just is taking that theme throughout his whole life. And like, same thing with mutants. Like, mutants are not as good. People are good. So is he a villain or just a dick? This is interesting because I feel like there should be some sort of medium in between.
Yeah.
Because he is like the first person where I really don't know. I can just write him off as being a full-fledged villain.
Okay.
Because like the Joker will just murder somebody in cold blood, right?
It's
like
true.
No questions asked, doesn't care, doesn't give a shit. They're like play toys to him. They don't care. I don't know that Magneto could just murder somebody for just no reason whatsoever. You know what I mean, dude?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if that can happen. So it's a really huge gray area, and it's hard to pick a side, dude.
It is. No, it definitely is. But like for me, the other things that factor in, he put Wolverine on lock like 2 or 3 times in this film. He's like, you're one of the most powerful heroes in, the MCU within, Marvel universe. And I'm just going to stand you up against the wall and there's nothing you can do about it. You're full of metal, and you know what I control? I control metal, buddy. So your aggression and your ruthlessness is nothing when it comes to, being a force with me. And that, I just, for me, he was willing.
It's a dick move.
That is a dick move. But
right?
The one thing that, for me, was villainous for him is the fact that he was willing to put his body on the line, his life on the line, just to show the senator what his plan was and how, because he was the biggest advocate against, mutants, and he
Yeah.
put his life on the line just to show him, hey, now you're a mutant, see how it feels. Obviously, what something that Logan said was brilliant. He said, "You're so self-righteous. Why don't you just do it yourself?" Great point on his end, which does lead him towards to a dick side. Because if you're so passionate behind this cause, why don't you just sacrifice your life instead of someone else's?
Yeah, some girl that means nothing to him. Like
Yes.
she didn't do anything wrong. She was just learning her powers. Shit. You know what, dude? And I'm only gonna say this, everybody, because I obviously have watched other X-Men movies with him, and they kind of go back and forth. Like, yes, Magneto will join the side of the heroes occasionally to help them against a larger threat, because basically, whenever the mutants are getting attacked as a whole by humans, Magneto is going to step up and help them, right? Help save them, help them from extinction, just keep them alive. But as soon as that's done, or if he sees another opportunity to to screw the good guys, but also get that way, like if he sees another path where he can do it his way, he's gonna do it. He's gonna screw everybody. I saw it happen a few times yesterday, because full discretion, everybody that's listening, me and Ty, we watched X-Men again. We rewatched it, and I had a fucking marathon yesterday. I kind of went off the deep end, and I started watching movie after movie after movie, and I got to see Magneto a little bit, and he does screw the heroes a whole bunch of times. He does help them, but he also screws them in the end. So I think he's a dick.
Okay.
And it's a real hard decision, because I think he toes that line really well, which is one of the reasons why I was going to bring you up. He's one of my favorite villains that I've ever seen on screen before, because you see where he's coming from. You could side with him sometimes, but then he screws you, and then you're like, dude, like I thought you were going to turn the corner here. I thought you were going to help these guys. I thought I was going to understand you. And then he fucks you up, and then what are you going to do after that? You're just like, you feel betrayed, you feel sad, and that's a classic villain sort of thing to do. So I think he toes that line, but I feel just like Professor X feels like there is redemption for him someday, and like because of that, want to say he's more of a dick, like right on the other side of the line of being a dick, but he's very close to being full-fledged villain.
I agree. I think it's a close call. Just for me, when it comes to a dick, which he is doing, is promoting your own agenda. But in this case, his agenda is for more people than just himself. So that's why, for me, that line went more towards villain than dick. Because if he was doing something that just benefited him, and he was doing you're a dick. But
right. Okay, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that was interesting, dude. Like, seriously, man. Again, after watching this movie, Magneto is still like one of my favorite fucking villains.
And Ian McKellen, right? McKellen.
Is it Ian McKellen or Ian McKellen? I'm not.
I don't want to get fact check it real quick. Yeah. But dude, his portrayal of Magneto it floored me, even from the get go. Because I'm gonna segue into my next point, which is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Ian McKellen, fantastic as Magneto off the get go. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine from the start, wasn't a fan.
Oh man, dude. Let's hold on. Everybody, give everybody 5 seconds to like flip their tables or take their beer and throw it against the wall, or or comment and say that you're a dick or anything.
That's fine.
Let's give him a few seconds for that. Okay, go.
So it is Ian McKellen to go back, but for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in this movie, man. It didn't plant the seeds for him to go forward, because moving forward, he plays a fantastic Wolverine. In Logan, that was my favorite portrayal for Wolverine and Logan for himself, and he kicked ass. It was so good. But in this film, Wolverine was way too human for me. In the future, you see him be more animalistic with the grunts and the anger and the intensity. In this film, Wolverine wasn't intense as he should have been. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but he was he was falling in love with Jean Grey, and he already had a soft spot for Rogue. And he did do some badass things, like, in the beginning he cuts the guy's gun and has his, his knives, or his, what do you want to call them, up against
His, I don't know, claws. His
claws.
adamantium
Thank
claws.
you.
Yeah.
His claws were up against the one guy's throat, but it wasn't the intensity we've seen in future films from him. And to me, in general, this movie, for most of the X-Men characters, felt like a pilot, because it felt like more of those films, like Euro tripping style acting for them. And that's why when I said, Ian McKellen and who plays Professor X again? I keep blanking.
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, like, they knew their characters from bottom to top. They were a sick presence on screen. But for everyone else, it felt like a pilot to me. It felt like they really needed to understand their characters more, and it felt like a learning curve to me.
You know what, dude? And I actually applaud you for that, for saying that, because that's a very brave thing to say. And I think that, after hearing you say it, it makes a lot of sense. And I do agree with you. I do agree with you. Obviously not in the fact that like look, yeah, one day and throughout the movies, Hugh Jackman learned how to play Wolverine. It was a learning curve. That was the first time he'd ever played it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they probably told him, like, look, this guy is an animal, a complete wild animal in the comics, and let's bring you back down to earth for this first movie. Let's have you go through an arc and all that kind of stuff, and let's humanize you so people can relate to you. Because I mean, but honestly, I don't think that was a bad choice. I think that, if we were going to care about who he was as a person, we need to learn who the person was first. The person, not the animal, right? Not the animal. So if we were just like this animal going all over the place in the very first time we ever see him, everybody's going to be like, well, this guy is just wild. Like, I don't really know. We can't connect with him. He doesn't have any human ties. He's not showing that, like, he's a person. He doesn't have emotional depth to him. And, like, but to that point, I do understand what you're saying, that, like, it was not an accurate, accurate Logan, especially if this was like an origin story. They should have picked him up, and he was like wild right off the get go. And I think they did try to. I mean, I think they did get that point across a little bit, but not to the extreme that, like, you were probably used to, or not the extreme that you were hoping to see from a first time seeing Wolverine on screen. Because he did have that depth. He was caring about people, but he was also kind of a jerk. I mean, I was telling my girlfriend when we were watching yesterday, he straight up, like, when he saw Jean Grey for the first time, and he knew she was with Scott, the whole time, and he came and was just like, hey, I'm just gonna step in here and I'm gonna take you from him, and screw this guy, screw this little pipsqueak over here. I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna take you, and she kind of was digging that a little bit. She was digging the approach.
Yeah. And
it was hard for her because, I mean, he was just, it's Hugh Jackman, so I don't know what you're gonna do, but yeah, I do get what you mean. For everybody that is not entirely familiar, Wolverine is a wild fucking beast in the comics, and you can't predict anything that man's gonna do. He just is all over the place. You have a plan, and he's the first person to say fuck the plan and go off and do his own thing. And everybody's like, well, that's Wolverine. Sorry, guys, but he's also the strongest person to have on your team. So, I think they tried to toe the line. But I do feel like they did try to rein him in just a little bit on this movie. They tried to bring it in, maybe just so that we can understand him a little bit more.
Yeah, and for me, it's just like watching the animated series, because in the animated series, he was that wild animal. Like, as a kid, like, that was my first instance of Wolverine. Like, I didn't read the comics when I was a kid, but, like, seeing the animated series and seeing how wild and crazy and just what a brute force he was made me love that character so much. Like, he was the one that you wanted on your side, because if he saw you in trouble, he was coming with those claws and he was ripping apart whatever was trying to hurt you. So, like, for me, that, he was my...
It was awesome, right? Yeah.
He was one of my picks for the Army of the Dead hypothetical, man. Like, that's who I want on my side, man. He's gonna rip things apart. And, in this film, we did see glimpses of that, just not the full force that I would have enjoyed. Obviously, Mark should bring a great point, to humanize him and get people acclimated to the character. I think that's what they were doing. But it just, like, for me as a longtime fan, especially watching the animated as younger than 2000, I wanted that, badass Wolverine who just is more animal than human, but we do get that in the future.
We do.
Obviously,
We
do. And Hugh Jackman
Yeah.
does a tremendous job. Like, I'm not saying he's a
dude.
bad actor. He's not. He's a fantastic actor. He's a great Logan. Just for this film, like I said, it just, to me, it felt like a pilot.
That is a great point though, and like I told you, that's really brave of you to bring that up, because like I don't think a lot of people would have had the stones to say something like that.
Yeah.
Because he is so revered as the character, like everybody loves him. He's Wolverine. Nobody could see him as anything else. And yeah, he did grow into that over the course of a few movies. I mean, he's played Wolverine for how many fucking movies do they have they had?
Dude,
7, 8, 9 movies that they've had.
He's got every X-Men film, and then the Wolverine trilogy, you can say. Origins, the Wolverine, and then Logan. Like, he's played this character a ton, and I still want Deadpool and Wolverine to get their one-on-one with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, because dude, that would be, I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but that shit would be freaking brilliant, man. That would be so good.
Absolutely. And they're such good friends too, so they give each other shit all the time on social media. So
yeah.
I'm gonna not go off track a whole bunch, but just a little bit, just a slight detour. After we watched X-Men yesterday, I did want to watch, which this is going to be very controversial because everybody that I've ever talked to in my life and that I see online says this is the worst X-Men movie they've ever seen. But I watched X-Men Origins Wolverine yesterday, and to this day, it is one of my most fun films that I can watch. I actually loved it a whole lot, man. I think that movie gets a lot of shit, and I'm not sure why it gets a lot of shit. I get that it's a little cheesy sometimes, but I think it's a really, really nice origin story, and it gives him that is the humanizing element that you get from Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because you understand where he's coming from. His fucking backstory has such trauma, there's so much bad shit that's happened to him. Every single person that he loves always ends up getting killed right in front of him. And, he's just a very sad character. That's why he's so mean and such an asshole all the time.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you get to explore that. And funny enough, that's where Deadpool comes from. Everybody, Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool in that movie. Wade Wilson, and he had a funny moment and a funny couple moments in that movie. And but I did it was just totally sidetracked from the conversation we we're having. But anyways, I digress. Wolverine Origins, that was a really great movie. But let's get back to X-Men. Ty, you know what? Did you hate that movie?
Origins, I've seen clips. I never watched the whole thing.
Oh,
I did see the scene with Deadpool and Wolverine, and the Deadpool looked like crap. Like that,
oh yeah, he looks bad.
But
it looks bad at the end. In the beginning, he's not all fucked up though. He's got he's just Ryan Reynolds.
Gotcha.
It's just his regular face. He's got the scene with his knife or with his swords, which they actually make fun of in Deadpool. When he tries to block all the bullets with his swords, and he ends up getting hit with all of them.
All of them, yeah.
In this movie, though, he doesn't. He blocks all of them. So I think they were making fun of that in Deadpool.
Hysterical.
How could you block all of them? You're gonna get hit with all those bullets.
Yep. But yeah. So going back to the X-Men side, I'm curious to know your idea on this. But for me, with the action, the fighting sequences were okay. They weren't brilliant, but for the heroes and their villains to have that had actual powers, with Storm and Cyclops, obviously the technology wasn't fully there, and I would love to see this film remastered with technology we have now, so those powers to actually look real and sick and cool. But they didn't bother me. Most older films that had that kind of that special effects kind of thing going on, it would bother me. But Storm was great. The lightning was a little hokey, but not awful. So was the laser beam wasn't awful, and it wasn't too fake that I was like, oh, screw this film, because sometimes the special effects it just throws in the towel for me. But in this film, it wasn't the case. One weird thing was when Mystique was feet fighting the Senator. I think they were trying to play too much in the fact that Mystique's this shapeshifter, and she can move the way her body wants to, so she can slap you with her feet and knock you out. But I didn't hate it, but that the Mystique fighting was just a little weird for me. Not all the time. The fight between her and Wolverine was okay, But what
Yeah.
was your take on the special effects and the fighting scenes?
Did you see when she was like running? It was like almost backwards up a pillar though. Like when she like kind of was like all the way up. Like that was kind of cool though. Like that was pretty sick. That was kind of cool. Um but yeah, it was the same thing that we talked about with I think what was it, Batman '89, where it's like, yeah, like the choreography, the fight choreography wasn't like, it's like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, you're throwing a punch here, you're throwing a punch there, a kick here, a kick there, but it wasn't like, there wasn't these sequenced moves that these people really knew how to fight. Which maybe that's, they don't know like jujitsu and kung fu and karate and all that kind of stuff. So they're just trying to use their powers mostly. And then if they have to get into a hand-to-hand combat, like they're just going to try to do the best they can, but maybe it's not going to look that great. Maybe it's going to be sloppy. I guess we expect like all these heroes to have these masterful moves,
right?
And,
that
like,
they're just like sensei.
Yeah, that they're just going to whoop somebody's ass. But yeah, if I had the ability to shoot fireballs out of my hands, like I don't know how much I'm going to be learning kung fu.
Right? Yeah, I'm just like, I'm going to throw these fireballs at your face all day.
Yeah. And maybe they banked off that a little bit, but like, are you really going to teach these guys kung fu? Does it make sense?
It's true. It makes it more real for them because, you make a good point. If I had a superpower and I could use that, why would I go and learn all these fighting styles just to, like, freeze people on my touch? Or with Rogue, I can, like, you can be doing these punches, but I'll just grab your arm and then I'm going to siphon your life and then you're dead.
Yeah, and then you're dead. And then she knows how to do what you do, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, But I do agree. It's like we watch all these other movies, and everybody like knows how to fight wonderfully, and it looks amazing on camera. I don't know if it was just a directorial decision to just go that way. If Zack Singer was just like, let's do that. Which if he did think about it that way, like that's actually pretty cool.
Yes, I think, and honestly, I do kind of think it went that way. I could be wrong, but you can tell between the characters who had the superpowers, they weren't. Fighters. Wolverine, you can tell, that man's probably gone to 1,000 fights in his life before this film happened. Yeah. And he knows how to scrap, so you can tell. But everyone else, like, there was never a need. Most of these people are in this school of the gifted with Professor X, and, they're honing their powers. They're not learning how to fight or defend themselves. So,
totally.
So that, I think that's partially why, I don't mind it as much because it makes more sense to me than everyone just knowing how to fight so well and just kicking ass.
Yeah, no, totally. And that makes perfect sense too. Yeah, it was like we saw. I remember thinking yesterday when I watched it, like the end battle was like, oh well, I mean, I get it. It was cool. It was cool for what it was, but like in terms of action and like ass kicking, nobody was really kicking ass.
No.
In the way that is presentable in today's movies. But if you think of it from that way, then, like they're just trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many battles they've had before then. It might've been the first time that team has ever been assembled is what it feels like when they went out together.
Like too. Yeah.
So thinking of it that way too is actually very cool that they were able to get it done, even though they weren't like a unit and they weren't in lockstep with each other.
That's true. You can tell because they, in the fight with Mystique and Toad and Sabretooth, they were separated. When it came to Magneto stopped them all instantly, which was cool.
He's the most powerful.
Yeah, so like, it showed how green they were, and they weren't, ready. They're ready, but they're not ready, to be a unit and take on these big threats, and they need to learn to be. Obviously, they're not practicing and taking on the simulations as they do in the animated and the comics, but, it was cool to see heroes trying to work together but not working well. And we did see a little bit at the end because when Scott Summers is trying to Cyclops trying to laser the machine that's pushing out the mutant gene, Jean Grey's like, don't take this shot. He's like, I have a shot, I'm taking it. Obviously he takes it on Magneto and helps Wolverine stop the machine, and I thought that was a really cool scene.
That was cool.
Yeah, I think it went a little long because obviously Cyclops had the shot. And for Jean Grey to say not take the shot, and all he was doing the whole time was going to shoot Magneto, that could have happened so long ago and saved everything. But obviously for the film, it's for suspense. It's to keep you on the edge of your seats. Totally. But, that's where the mix between, film and comics come into play. You need some suspense. You need people on the edge of their seats to really, enjoy a film. So I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No,
overall,
I hear you, dude. Yesterday I was like, take the shot. Like, why did you
yes,
just take the shot? You could have
right.
taken the shot by now. And like Wolverine has to end up going through all that again. It's like, dude, he didn't even have to do that.
And I was thinking, like, yo, you just set up the guy that Magneto can stop. You literally set
Yeah.
up the one guy that just by his body, Magneto can literally just freeze him because he's full of fucking metal.
I mean, I get it because Wolverine was like, look, like, if you don't send me, like, at least Scott can still take the shot if I don't make it or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do hear what you're saying. Yeah, it was like it was almost it could have been, if they would have stuck that landing a little bit better in the end. I would have been like, dude, this was like the best fucking movie
Yeah.
that could have come out at that time ever. But still, people, I feel like it. I still
think it
feel like the
is.
first X-Men goes like unnoticed and
I
like
agree.
very underappreciated, dude.
I think for
it's
its
such a good
time-
movie.
Yeah, for its time, man, it's brilliant. I think it is. I think for its time, it's great. I think it's really fun. I think it's like you said in the beginning, it's ahead of its time, big time, through the story, through how all the the heroes work together. That Avengers style film. I think it set the groundwork for what we had, honestly. And one thing that I really wish was more fleshed out in that film was Storm, because she is such a badass character. And, we saw it when she came up from the elevator. And, like, the whole time before the film, she was on the back burner. She was kind of, like, getting flopped around, when Sabretooth grabbed her. She didn't really have much, screen time and presence. She did shock him with lightning. But when she came up that elevator shaft and she whooped Toad's ass, I'm like, this is the character you need to also focus more on, because she is so much more powerful and so much more badass than this movie portrayed.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, dude. And I was talking about it yesterday too, like as the movie was happening. He's like, dude, what did she have? Like 5-6 lines total in this movie?
Probably, yeah.
Like one sentence lines, not even like a
Yeah.
monologue, not even like she's interacting with people. She says these like dumb little like one-liners, and it's like 5 times throughout the movie.
Yep.
It's like, dude, we barely even heard her talk at all. We didn't even hear her say anything. And like that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That annoyed me because I know she's amazing in the comics, and I think she's a she's a witch, isn't she? Like she's a witch from Africa, and she's got all these like crazy powers, and like they should have tried to focus on that a little bit, but. Or if anybody deserves an origin movies, Wolverine has his origin movie. They should definitely give her one, because she's pretty badass.
Because even in the animated series, for me, like the biggest characters, the 3 biggest characters that took my attention in the animated series when I was a kid was Wolverine, Storm, and Cyclops. Like those to me were like the big 3. They were like the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman in the X-Men universe for me.
Totally.
And they did show Scott a little bit. They showed the tension between, Logan and Scott. But for me, I just wish they would have fleshed out Storm more, because she has so much to offer. And they could have went so many ways with that, and they didn't. And
they didn't give her any emotional scenes. They didn't
No.
give her any depth or anything at all. It was just she was there. They're like, hey, everybody, we're doing an X-Men movie. Here's Storm.
Yep.
And like she's on camera. Look, doesn't she look great? She looks amazing. Like, look at her on camera. But like, they didn't actually have her interact with anybody or talk or have any scenes or any lines or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of bugged me a little bit.
It's just because they had so many characters, especially like, you can argue Scott, Cyclops didn't have that much screen time either. He did.
Him too.
But it was more just, tension between him and Logan, just to like,
for comedic effect. Yeah.
Yes. And he's like, how do I know it's you? He's like, you're a dick. He's like, okay, yeah, sick. You're the real Wolverine.
I did love when he gave him the claws. He gave him the middle finger claw.
Yep.
That was so
that
funny.
was good. I that is awesome. Like, that was perfect. And I did like the line when Logan's talking about the suit and Scott goes, what do you want, like yellow? Hold on, right there. Yeah, what do you want? Yellow spandex? I'm like, that's perfect. Yeah. Like that's good.
That was nice.
That was a nice
little nod.
It was good nods. I wish his character had more. Obviously, there was so many, heroes and villains in that film that, we would love to see more of. And, for one, Rogue, who I thought her story was fucking fantastic and, was great. The actress, is it Anna
Paquin?
Paquin. For me, that film, it was like, the same as Hugh Jackman was like a big pilot. Because the way she acted, like I said before, was the way it felt like in Eurotrip. It was very like fake acting to me. And that character Rogue is so, it's such a big part of the X-Men too, and her powers are so powerful in itself. It just, her acting in that just felt so fake to me. And she does better in the future films, 100% she does. But just in this one, it just, again, that was another set off for me too.
Yeah. Yeah, they were trying to find their footing, man. I think like everybody was just trying to. They haven't done anything like that before. So like, you know, because it was the very first time anything like that's ever happened, you know, that's why I feel like when I watched it yesterday, I was like, wow, like that was really good, you know, and to think that came out 20 years ago, like,
wild.
fuck, like, you know, they really did a great job. And it went unnoticed for so long. Like nobody talks about that movie. Nobody says anything about the first X-Men.
Nothing. It's like literally hidden in the past. Like it's just
it's just fucking buried back then. And you know, if everybody watching this, please by all means go out and watch the original X-Men again, because that movie was amazing.
And you'll be wanting to watch the next two. Like Marcus went through a whole friggin', you know, trilogy and more. And I, you know, when I watched it, if I wasn't getting ready to raid Destiny all day, I saw the X-Men 2 roll up on Disney Plus, and I'm like, fuck, I want to watch this so bad right now. Like I was almost in that hole. Like it's that good. It's that entertaining. It's that fun of a film that you're gonna want to keep watching, especially when the trailers come up. It's like, oh, you can watch X-Men 2. Oh, you can watch X3. Oh, you can watch Days of Future Past. Like it'll hook you, man. It'll hook you.
That was one of the ones I watched yesterday. Actually, was Days of Future Past. Yeah. That's my favorite X-Men movie. That movie was fucking incredible. That's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
That was the most like comic accurate X-Men movie I've ever seen.
I think people I think people, especially with the newer ones, tend to shit on the X-Men films, so I don't think people tend to go back because of that. Yeah. But I don't hate them by any means, any of them. I enjoy them for what they are, and I know it's hard sometimes, especially when you have all these heroes and villains on screen, all these talents and all these characters you want to learn more and understand more. It's hard to do that right. Especially because, you know, with the Avengers, you know, there's, like 6 of them, and you've seen their solo films. But when you get to the X-Men films, there was no solo films.
No.
You're getting each character in that film and learning about them in those films. So it's hard to really relate and understand them in these team-up movies. If they had their one-offs and then you went in and got the X-Men films, yeah, you'd probably love it because you would understand the characters and you'd know their backstories and you know what they've been through. But it's a lot harder when the only time they show up is in X-Men and not in their own solo films.
Yeah.
So, like, when you have that mindset and you go into these films, you'll really, you know, get in there and you'll really enjoy and understand what it really is, those films.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so are we of the same mind that, you know, after watching this movie, I don't know when the last time you saw X-Men was.
Probably.
Like, how long has it been?
Dude, it's been over 10. It's before college for me. So
same for you, same for me. It's been a very, 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 very long time, everybody. And I think that after watching this, I don't know how you feel about it, Ty, but I think I know how you feel about it. But
yeah,
you know, I was very impressed. There are some movies out there, you know. I mean, would you watch this over Guardians 2? Would you watch this over Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I would watch them both over that. I would watch X-Men, the original one, probably 20,000 times over again before I would ever pick up Guardians 2 or Ant-Man.
Yeah, I figured you would say that. I mean, that shows you right then, man. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Comes out in the year 2000. Like, does it still hold up today? Fuck yeah, it does.
Fuck yeah.
It was a fucking great movie, man.
Yeah, it was. Dude, awesome. You know, as much as the things that I disliked from it, just the entire film as a whole, I really enjoyed. It was really fucking fun. And, you know, to me, to have such a film as the groundwork for the superhero films we have today, and like I said, like if you watch X-Men and the team up style stuff, maybe not the first one, but X2 and X3, and you watch the Avengers, you really see how they kind of picked how they've done their stuff and made it their own. Totally. So X-Men itself, the X-Men in general, are just fucking fantastic, and that film itself was just fun and exciting, and it gave me the thrill I had that as I watched as a kid. So that in itself is awesome because like I'll go back and watch Power Rangers and I'm like, what the fuck did I see in this? It's fun.
Dude, I did the same thing.
Yeah,
I did
right.
The same thing recently. Yeah,
dude, it's like, fun.
I can't wait to watch this. And
yeah.
then like I go back and watch it, and I was like, wait, this is what I was watching back then.
Exactly. So like with the Power Rangers, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's okay, but like it's fun and I see it, but obviously it's more catered toward kids and whatever. But when I watch the X-Men, and I don't normally do this when I go back and watch older things. When I watched X-Men, I'm like, this is how I felt when I watched this as a kid, and this makes me feel good inside, and I want to watch this again and again and again. So it's definitely a great film. I would give it like out of the Untapped scale out of 5, I'd give it like a 4. It was so fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I was so glad we did this because watching it, I'm like, I am so glad we chose this film to do as a throw one back because it's hitting the nostalgia factor. You know, the story in itself is just so ahead of its time. And just to see how these characters started, especially with all the X-Men films we've gotten since then, it's a no-brainer, man. It's so good.
I'm glad you gave it a 4, man. I'm not going to be one of those cocksuckers that's like, you know, excuse my language, everybody, but, you know, like the ones that are like, yo, you're going to give it a 4, I'm going to give it a 4.2. Or like a 3.98.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Okay, like I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Like I'm never gonna do a point or in this and whenever we do reviews, it's either a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a fucking 5. You know. Like, do I think it's close enough to a 3? No, I think it's closer to a 4.
I agree.
Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. So I think it's closer to a 4 in that way. Which us being 4, right? What is it? Wait, you know what, Ty? You know what I think we should call it?
What?
We gave it 4 beers.
I like
we give
that.
It 4 beers out of 5.
4 beers out of 5.
4 beers out of 5.
And that way it'll stop me from doing decimals because who wants to drink just 4.5 beers? You're either going to drink the 4th one or you're going to drink the damn 5th one.
You're going to drink all of them. You're going to drink every single one of them.
Don't drink half that beer. Don't leave that fucking hanging.
Don't drink 0.2 of the beer. So yeah, no, I definitely agree. This movie is way above average. It's not perfect. It's above average, which is why I'm going to give it a 4. Rewatchability. I would rewatch it again in a heartbeat.
Endless, man.
You know, this is compares to last time that we did the throw one back, which is the Batman '89, and all of us, you, Kev, and me, said that we did not want to. The rewatchability was very low in that movie. You know, we just couldn't do it, even though it was like groundbreaking for its time, and we loved it. We thought it was great, but like rewatchability, would I put it on again tomorrow? No, probably not. But if I'm gonna think about X-Men, I watched it yesterday. Would I watch it again tomorrow? I might actually. I might watch it right again, you know, just to see it again. It made me laugh. You know, it was good. It was awesome. It was a great comic book movie, and you know, great throwing back, man. Like, great choice to pick this movie.
It was.
Thank you for making me watch this again because like I totally, even for me, I forgot about how good this movie was. I didn't,
dude. Same.
You know, and I watched it. It was like shit. Now this is great. Now I gotta watch all of them again just because like I didn't know what the hell I was talking about back then.
Exactly, and I may not watch X-Men the first one tomorrow, but it might be X2 that I watch tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm like so zoned in just to go through all those films and just catch up on all of it. You know, we can just do a bunch of throwing backs on the whole X-Men series. You know, all those films, man.
What a great comic series, dude! What a great comic series. Like the characters are so awesome, all of them. You know, it's like you know, Batman characters. Like we love the villains and the, you know, the heroes. They're so well written. They're so good. They have such good backstories.
They do.
But like we don't talk about X-Men enough. And like X-Men has incredible characters, incredible villains, incredible everything. You know, it was. You know, Ty. You know, one thing I did before we stop on this. There's one thing that did bother me about this though. I'm not going to say. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say everything was perfect. Tell me how you feel about Toad.
Oh, dude, I hated him.
I fucking hated Toad.
I have it written down. Toad. Dude, they could have picked so many better villains. And the thing that pissed me off the most, you're about to set me off about this, man, is when him and Jean Grey are about to fight, and he does some corny-ass dance move to, like, try to be funny.
That's the part I was thinking about.
Dude, I hated every second of that. I'm like, what, like, you're already
goofy. What does that have to do with anything?
You're already goofy as shit with your tongue. Like, why do you gotta dance when you're about to fight someone? Like, that pissed me off so much, man. You got me fired up.
He fucking started dancing like, I don't know, he was just doing like this weird like little ballerina dance. And, like,
hold on, if you,
kicking his legs
I don't know
like
if you can see this,
chicken.
but in my notes, Toad's weird dance moves. And I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Dude, what are you doing?
Like, if you're trying to, like, get yourself noticed as an actor to, like, be, like, edgy and different about a hero, it's not doing like a weird, like, kung fu style, like, fight, like you're about to, like, go after freaking Bruce Lee and, like, shimmy around and, like, get into an action scene. Like, no, that's not what this is.
He wasn't even like intimidating. It was just like, I don't even know what to explain what that was, dude. I was watching. I was like, what is this? What
It
is
wasn't.
he doing?
It wasn't even comic relief. It wasn't even funny. It wasn't even needed. Like
so out of place.
So out of place.
It was out of place, dude. And I was watching yesterday. It was like, I was looking at a girl. I was like, really? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is he doing? You know, is that supposed to intimidate Jean Grey? Is that supposed to make her feel like,
yeah,
oh god,
too bad he doesn't know much about Jean Grey because she could rip him to shreds in fucking seconds.
It was just a weird. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up too, man, because it was like there's so many other amazing X-Men villains that they could have put in the first movie to make people interested. Yeah, and you're gonna pick Toad. Like his fucking ability is to just smack his tongue out and like grab you, and, like throw you around with his tongue.
Spit.
And I don't know, the whole thing just kind of like pissed me off about that character. I didn't like that. It was stupid.
I didn't like him at all. I think he was the most expendable person in the whole film. I think you could have done without him entirely. I don't think he added anything at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's so many people they could have added.
You know who I hated when I was a kid when the movie came out, but who after watching it yesterday I was actually kind of down for?
Who?
Sabretooth.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't like him when I saw the movie initially. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like it just was weird for me. But yesterday I kind of got it. It was like a very dark version of Sabretooth.
Yep.
I think because in the animated series he was so like bombastic and like flamboyant and like very like over the top with everything, and in the movie he was very like held back.
He was.
He did have like those moments of like growling and stuff, and like you can kind of see how he was an animal. But I kind of liked it. It was really cool like that. He was like so dark and like so reserved, but
yeah,
when it came time to fight, he was very animalistic too.
He was. He
improved.
In like a villainous way, he was like kind of stoic too. Like he always was like, you know, always had his, you know, shoulders back, head straight. Like he was very confident in himself, very reserved, and I really liked it. You know, because he knew it. Like you could tell that he knew he was gonna whoop your ass regardless of what you thought, and I thought that was really cool, especially against Wolverine. And I love their dynamic, especially because they're like kind of like two in the same-ish.
Yep.
And yeah, I really enjoyed him a lot in this film too.
Good. I'm glad he did, because that was the one that like he actually surprised me this time around.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I didn't like him. Then I saw it again and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I do actually. Maybe I do kind of like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, fuck Toad.
Fuck Toad. Yeah. Anything that comes out of that film is fuck Toad. Like
pretty much. They never used him again.
That was literally the only thing that I truly hated. The hate word. The only thing I truly hated was that character. I don't even know the actor's name. I was gonna look it up, but I was like, "Fuck it! I'm not even giving this man or this character the time of day. Doesn't deserve it. We're not going." I'm like, I have it down. I'm glad you brought it up because it's funny to talk about because he's a dick. Yeah. If we did a villain or dick on Toad, that man is a straight dick, like the end of the fucking barrel dick. That man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, there was no way that I couldn't let us stop the episode without that, because you know we talked about we sung this movie's praises the whole time, so we needed to bring something up that you know that we didn't like. You know, screw Toad. Toad can go to hell.
Toad can go to hell.
That being said, man, you know, again, thank you for bringing this movie up. I think actually, you know what? I think it was Kev that brought it up.
It was Kev.
So
yeah.
Kev, you know, I know you're watching somewhere. Wherever you're watching from, thank you so much, bud, for bringing it up, because that was an incredible movie to watch again. And you know, I know Ty, I know you feel the same way.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. That was a very special treat yesterday that I got to do, and then you sent me down a rabbit hole. I watched X-Men all day long yesterday, you know, sun to fucking nighttime, and I had an amazing time. Yeah. But great fucking segment, great show.
Yeah, it was. And for all those who are listening and or watching, you know, go back, watch the film. You won't be disappointed. Maybe you will, but I don't think you will be. And give us your thoughts on it, man. Throw it back. Marcus is wearing the merch. Go to heroesandbrews.com/merch if you want to purchase some of that merch, some of that Beeroes shirt swag on it. Yeah, I don't think
mercs with merch.
Yes.
The mercs with merch.
The mercs with merch. But yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed in this film one bit. It was so much fun. I obviously heard from Marks and I. Obviously, there are things that, we think could have been better, could have been worse, whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's a classic. Go back and watch it, and you won't be disappointed. And Marcus, man,
Absolutely.
It's always an honor and a privilege. Cheers,
Always, my friend. Yeah, we'll see you everybody next week.